All right, welcome, Sonder fam, to our Monday evening Labor Day monthly setup for September. Can you believe it's September already? I do not know where the time went, but I am super glad. I saw lots of folks talking in the chat about being excited for fall. I for sure am ready for fall. It was a lovely summer. But I think fall is definitely one of my my favorite season. Spring is a close second. I kind of like the transition seasons, right? Just kind of that moving from one to the other. And fall is just so fun. It kind of gets you in the spirit of I don't know, kind of that cozy and the hygge and warm drinks and warm boots and sweaters and those kinds of things. Of course, assuming you live someplace where it does get cooler, I suppose there are some places where fall is not necessarily super cool. So, um, welcome to our setup. My name is Maya, and I am coming to you from Aurora, Colorado, where it definitely felt like a fall day today. It was warm-ish. It was probably in the low 80s, but it definitely had that kind of crisp morning air there. This morning, and so it was just very nice. Had the day off, so that made things lovely, but then that will make the week confusing for me that tomorrow will be Tuesday and not Monday. But anyway, absolutely fine. So with me tonight, helping out in the chat, is Malika. She is in San Francisco, where she is saying hello to all of you. She went and got some fall boots today, so she's feeling fall. I love that. Boots, super fun, all those fun fall styles. So you'll have to post a picture in Sonder Club, Malika, so we can see the cute boots that you got. But love, oh, brown suede heeled boots. Love it. Maybe we all need to go get a fun pair of fall boots. So tonight we are going to work on setting up your September journal. If you've already come to one of the monthly setups, that's okay. You can come to as many of these as you need to get things set up. And sometimes people will come to one setup and they spend a lot of time in the chat, hanging out there, seeing what other folks are doing, talking to the Sonder fam. They make a few notes on some stickies, that kind of thing. And then they'll come back again and they spend the time working in their journal, ignoring the chat. Just know that whatever you need, this is your time. We are here for a little bit longer for the monthly setups. We're an hour and 15 minutes instead of just an hour. So a little bit more time, but goodness, that time goes by so fast. Just know that we will be here to help you set up. This is the last of the monthly setups, but I did notice they got things all posted on the YouTube channel. I think the weekly setups and the previous monthly setups are already in there. So if you ever need some time for yourself, you can always go and watch one of those videos again. Just know the chat is not there in the recordings. Chats are only available live. So one of the best reasons to be here live when you can. So glad to see everyone. And I saw a few folks are new. So if this is your first social, welcome. So excited to have you here. Just a few little tips and tricks here for these socials. That chat sometimes does get rolling pretty fast. Don't let that overwhelm you or stress you out. You can always close that out, or sometimes you can kind of scroll around in it, kind of pause it and to kind of go back and forth. Also recommend that you take screenshots, or if you're on your computer and you want to take a picture with your phone of some of the slides so that you can remember some of the ideas. That's always a good idea too. Also, like I mentioned, it is recorded, so you can always go back if there was something you're like, oh shoot, I don't remember what was on that slide and I need to see that. So that will be there for you as well. And again, some people really focus on working on the journal, ignore the chat. Other people enjoy hanging in the chat. Do what you need to do to make this a productive and a fun and a joyous time for you during our time together. So make sure that you set that chat to everyone. That little blue box down there, it has an obnoxious tendency to flip back and forth to host and panelist, especially if you're on an iPhone or an iPad. And then if you do that, the only people that will see what you write are myself and Malika. And so if we're the only two you wanted to talk to, that's absolutely fine. But sometimes people will put a question in there for the Sonder fam, and then they're like, nobody's answering. It's because nobody else could see it. So just make sure that you're that little blue box says everyone. And then we just have a few community guidelines, making sure that this is a safe and supportive space for everyone. So we just ask that you're kind and courteous to both yourself and others. No promotions or spam. We respect everyone's privacy here. What happens here in the Sonder Social stays in the Sonder Social, right? No hate speech or bullying. We limit those repetitive product and accessory questions. It's fine to have a few questions about stickers or pens or those kinds of things, but the best place for those kinds of questions really is in the app. Then people can put links in and pictures and those kinds of things. If you have any of those customer care inquiries, those all go to our headquarters. So subscription, mailing, if you need to update an address, if you need to update your credit card payment information, if you haven't gotten your journal yet, any of those kinds of things, those all go to hello@silkandsonder.com. And then remember that ultimately these socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community. And we have such a fabulous, supportive, creative, fun, strong, brave community here, but ultimately you're responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So if there's ever anything that we're working on that just isn't hitting right for you, it's not your jam, you can always feel free to do whatever you need to do while you're here. If the music I play isn't your jam, you can mute that. If my voice isn't your jam, you can mute me. We've got closed captioning enabled. So you do what you need to do for this time to get September all set up. So this month's theme is bravery, as I have alluded to, and obviously used the obvious song to open up, Brave. Very fun theme as we're coming off of Enchantment. If you were with us in August, I think it's kind of a nice kind of transition into bravery. And then thinking about it takes bravery to keep growing, keep forgiving, and keep healing. And bravery really is that thing, that action that we have to take, that way we have to look at things. And sometimes it's really uncomfortable. Actually, a lot of times, whatever's happening is uncomfortable. And it's the bravery that we need to show to be able to dive into those uncomfortable situations and move forward. So we're going to be brave, take risks, and allow the unexpected this month. And then bravery is the audacity to be unhindered by failures, to walk with freedom, strength, and hope into the face, in the face of things unknown. So again, this idea of the unknown, the unexpected, the challenges, we're here for it this month, and we're going to talk about this idea of how we are going to embrace bravery for the month. And if you haven't had a chance yet, Meha, our fabulous founder, always writes us a little, we call it a little love note. On page 2, she writes a little letter kind of talking about where, kind of what she's thinking of when she thinks of bravery, how that kind of shows up for her, what she's thinking. And I just pulled a couple little call outs here. A lot of times bravery is about small everyday decisions we make to show up fully in our lives, even when it feels uncomfortable, right? And then bravery exists in our everyday choices. So again, it's those everyday choices, those little things that we do, how we're showing up, and then we need to speak up when it matters most. So I think this, if you haven't had a chance to read the letter, highly recommend. That's always the first thing I do when I get my journal is I open up to the letter and make little notes and underline and those kinds of things, because it is fun to see what her perspective was with this idea of bravery for the month. So our agenda for tonight is we are going to do, in the monthly setups, we always do a monthly acrostic poem. I have some options for you if that's not quite something that you're into, right? We're going to reflect on August. We're going to set our September intentions, and then we're going to work on our mood tracker and our habit trackers. And if you've been with me before, you know I always use these two little cartoons to illustrate a couple points. The first one says there's room for you here just as you are. So if you want to celebrate, if you've been having some successes, if you want to really kind of talk about some wonderful things happening, we love to celebrate with you, love to hear the good things. Feel free to share all of that. But we know life isn't always a series of ups, right? We have those bumps in the road. Sometimes we have the valleys. Sometimes, you know, things can be a little tough. And we are here for that as well, right? We are here to empathize with you, to commiserate with you, to give you that support, to give you that virtual hug so that you can have the strength to keep moving on. So again, we're sharing the good, the bad, all of it, right? The life, right? Because that's kind of how life works. And then the other one says the way you feel matters and no emotion you feel is bad or unworthy. So no one can tell you, oh, you shouldn't be mad about that, or oh, that shouldn't bother you, or you should be happy about this. And really, no one can tell us how we're supposed to feel. Our feelings, they are what they are, and we're here to share them, and we're here for all the feels. So hopefully you're ready to spend a little bit of time thinking about kind of what September is going to hold for you and how we're going to get things planned. So our bravery acrostic poem. So acrostic poem, you're going to find a blank page in your journal. It could be just a blank space. It doesn't have to take up a whole page. A lot of times people like to use the definition page on page 3, or they will use the on page 1 where it says notes and there's kind of the little lines. They'll write bravery down there, and then they'll write out their acrostic poem. So you're going to come up with 7 words or phrases, then create that poem drawing upon your brainstorm list. It could be sentences, words, sets of words, phrases, any of those kinds of things as you're thinking about that. The point of this exercise really is for you to start thinking, what does bravery mean to me? When I think of the word bravery, what pops into my head? Right? So you can draw this out. Sometimes in some months, we actually have this printed out. The acrostic is printed out in the journal. This month it is not. So you're just going to find a little space. You could always do a sticky note, post-it note, do it on the back page, kind of wherever makes sense to you. Just kind of write out the word. And I gave you a little word cloud. Always love a good word cloud if you're wanting some other words, if you need some things like positive and courage and strength and motivation, determination, boldness, valor. Those are lots of good words when we think about bravery. Think about those different words on there. And I'll kind of scroll through these as you're working on your poem so you can get that. So here's a few, used a little AI friend, a little AI help to generate a couple little poems that have phrases, not just one word, but you could just use one word. So things like boldly standing strong, resolute in the face of fear, always choosing what's right, valuing courage over comfort, embracing the unknown, reaching for a brighter future, your heart a lion's roar. So the kind of fun little ways to do that. Oh, audacity does sound like a good word for bravery. I do like that word. Here's a couple examples of what some Sonder fam have done from previous socials, and they posted in Sonder Club. So I thought I would pop these in so that you can see those as well. I love one person has bravery, a path forward. Super fun, great idea to kind of think about that. So one has bold and bright, resolve to live life with joy, action leads to new horizons, valiantly striving to help all, energized by taking chances, revolution through education, yearning for making a difference. So fun, again, this is just kind of a fun time. Some people are super creative. Some people like to use AI. Some people like to use, some different things to kind of come up with these, but always fun. And then if the acrostic poem thing just is not hitting for you, you're like, this is not my jam. You could also spend this time writing a letter saying goodbye to August and hello to September. I included our facilitator, Katie. She wrote a little letter to say goodbye to August and welcoming in hello bravery of September. So you could do that. You could also fill in your bravery definition on page 3. And I wrote mine. Just do the beep thing, right? That's kind of my definition of bravery. And then we have our little pigeons who have some other words for bravery there for you. And if you're still kind of like, I'm not really sure what I want to do at this time as I think about bravery, maybe think about small moments when you or someone else showed bravery, write about how that impacted you at the time. So again, this is your time to start thinking, let that idea of bravery kind of ruminate in your mind. I'll cycle through these pages, let you work. Feel free to share in the chat. Yeah, Malika says bravery means YOLO. I love that. So feel free to, again, share in the chat. We'll check back in here in just a few moments. All right. So how do we do with that time really thinking about that idea of bravery, what it means to you? I saw lots of folks posting in the chat their poems, the words that they have, just this whole idea of embracing this theme for the month. So I love it. So thank you all so much for sharing. Thank you for spending a little bit of time thinking about that. When you come to our weekly socials, we spend even more time looking at the theme. We do the little mind maps. And so we can move even deeper into this theme. So I did want to mention really quickly before we jump into our pages here that we are doing the Labor Day sale. So 20% off everything, which includes the stickers, includes the Elevate planner, all those different things. So I just thought you probably got an email that talked about that. So I just thought I'd pop that in real quick, a little quick mention about the Labor Day sale. If there was something you'd been looking at wanting to get, or if you wanted to get a subscription for somebody else, you can have that as well. So let us turn to page 8 for our August reflections. So we always start out the month really thinking about what did we just do this last month? What just happened in this last month that we had? So we think about our wins, those things that went really well, our challenges, our favorite moments, and then what do we want to start, stop, and continue? So I will say I did come across this little drawing, which I thought was kind of interesting, saying that there's a certain feeling in the air when August comes to a close, a pang of sadness and longing for what was, mingled together with the excitement of what's to come. So I thought that was kind of a fun idea of when one month ends, excitement for the one that is to come. So think about your wins, something that you did, something that made you smile, something that made you happy, some accomplishments. I started a new job. I think I told you I'd been at my previous district for 16 years, and they decided to phase out my position. All of a sudden, I found out at the end of April, so things were a little stressful for a while, but I did find a job at a new district, and I started last month, so that has definitely been a win. Challenges or maybe things that aren't going right, something that's out of your control, maybe a stumbling block of frustration, some stress. So along with my fabulous new job, thank you for the congratulations on that. The commute is definitely taking some getting used to. I used to work about 7 miles away from home, and now I work 27 miles away from home. So getting used to that, but that's okay. It's a challenge, but I'm figuring out how to overcome that. And then the favorite moments really are just things that you are really enjoying. Maybe it's you went to lunch with a friend, saw a fun movie. Any of those kinds of things can be your favorite moments. And then one thing we suggest that you can do if you're wondering, what did I do last month? You can look at those rosebud thorns from previous, from the August journal, if you were with us in August, and you have those to look through. Those are really helpful. You can also use your phone to review your calendar and your photos from the last month. That's always super helpful for me, is to go through those photos and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I did that. Oh yeah, I forgot we did this. So that's always a good time. And then as you're thinking about August and starting to think about transitioning to September, what are some things that you want to carry over? So, or brand new things, right? So, what are some things you want to start? Maybe things that you haven't been doing, but you've been thinking about doing. You want to get working on that. Things you want to try. Things you want to stop. Maybe there's some things that you were doing last month, some bad habits that you got into, things you just kind of want to not do any more, things that maybe are impeding your progress, things that aren't practical, they're not delivering those desired results, things you don't like, those kinds of things that you want to stop. And then things you want to continue, bringing those things forward, bringing those things that you had been doing in August and you want to keep doing them in September. So maybe it's making sure that you always come to a monthly setup, making sure you do a weekly setup, making sure you spend some time with your journal. Maybe you're kind of bringing that forward. So just kind of thinking about that. And here's some examples of what some folks have put in for some of those areas. So I will be quiet again. I will let you work on this. Feel free to share in the chat any of those wins or challenges, favorite moments, maybe things you're wanting to start, stop, or continue. And just we'll just work on that and then play a little music, and then we'll check back in and keep moving along. All right. Thank you for sharing in the chat some of those wins, challenges, and favorite moments. Really kind of showing that we all are dealing with lots of different things at any given time, and I think it's always important for us to spend just a few minutes reflecting on that previous month, kind of what was happening. And I will say sometimes the one thing can actually be a win, a challenge, and a favorite moment. I know when we were doing a remodel of the bedroom a couple years ago. The remodel was a win, a challenge, and a favorite moment. Like it was all of those things because there was good things and bad things all kind of going through that. So thank you again all for sharing that those things into the chat as we think about August and we close out August and then we start to move into September. So over on page 9, we're going to look at setting our intentions in some different areas of our life. And if you look at the top of that page, it talks about setting intentions is not making a to-do list. It's asking something of yourself and then giving yourself the strength to do it. So we give you 6 different areas of your life. First of all, you do not have to fill in every single box. Maybe there's only 1 or 2 areas that you want to focus on this month. Absolutely fine. And then also, maybe if some of these category headings don't quite fit with your life, feel free to change them. We've had lots of folks change them up, and I'll give you some examples of some different things that people have done with some of those areas. As particular changes that they made. So you can use that theme of bravery to set your intentions. Maybe you want to focus on one specific area like self-love or self-talk. Maybe you want to use names of songs or song lyrics that inspire you that are themed to that particular area. You really want to think about how you want to feel this month in each of these areas. You can use stickers or colors or images for any of these little boxes, and I'll show you lots of examples of different things that folks have done. Maybe you want to do one thing you want to let go of and one thing you want to start doing in each one of these areas. So here's some examples of ways that people have changed up those headers. They've substituted maybe mental health or connection in the spiritual health box. In personal life, maybe they change it to creative life or home life, personal fun, summer life, or maybe it could be autumn life, right? As we move into that time. Physical health could be mental health, heart health, brain health, thinking along those lines. Key relationships could be family relationships, work relationships, marriage relationships. Money management might be changed to time management or home management. And then professional goals, folks have changed that to maybe learning goals or creative goals, gardening goals, or vacation goals, right? All different ways that you can change those up. And then we always put, every month is like National Whatever Month. Sometimes that sparks some interest in some folks when they set their intentions for different areas. So here's all the different kinds of themed things that we have for the month of September. I saw in one of the socials that I did earlier this last weekend, the sourdough September. So all those folks who did the sourdough starters way back in COVID times, are you still feeding your starters? Are you still making that sourdough bread? I was thinking of bringing that back and maybe making some sourdough bread as the weather gets cooler. Also, National Library Card Sign Up Month. We had a lot of folks. We were talking about how important it is to support our local libraries. Make sure you have that library card. You're checking things out. I get all my audiobooks from from the library, and I get those on the Libby app. Love supporting that. Love the more you use it, the more they can justify their existence. And so I always recommend folks do that. And our library actually is the one that's near us is lovely. They have meeting rooms that you can rent for free. You can do printing, print things out on the printer up to 200 pages a day for free, all sorts of fun things. So maybe this is a good month to check out your local library. I see some folks talking about the sourdough. Fun, sourdough starters named Felicity Flower Child. I love that. So maybe that's what we will do this month as we set some of those intentions maybe for our, if we set like a home life, or maybe it could be a baking life or a cooking life or something like that, right? Here's some examples of things that some folks have already posted who were in some of the socials this weekend. So the idea of kind of, I like how she has do less with more intention kind of down in the middle of those intentions, and then has a main theme like personal life, create space and readiness in our home, and then has maybe 4 little things like simplify routines, build discipline and routines, organize new home, sage the new home. So she has some lovely ideas. Yes, lovely. Everybody does such pretty things. Mine are usually kind of minimalist, I will say. And then the one over on the right, they have some fun washi tape that has some fun little words there, like bloom and grow. It's okay to say no. And so they use those words there in each one of those, and then kind of talked about what they wanted to do. So in personal life there, they have it's okay to say no, and then they want to journal and do some work on some hobbies and read for fun. So that's kind of a fun way to do that. Here's some other fun ones. Someone had some lovely printing here with their, and they used Brave, pulled the Brave theme in. So brave self-expression, brave connections, brave expansion, brave clarity, brave commitment, brave faith. Love kind of pulling those in. And then the one on the right has some fabulous stickers. I always say if you've got a lot of stickers, you've got to let your stickers fulfill their sticker destiny and put them on a page, put them in some place. You can't just save them in a box and never let them experience the joy of being in your journal. So this is a good place maybe to put some fun themed stickers, and they just have like a few little words, right? Money management, they have track spending, right? Very easy, simple way to look at that. And then here's some more examples. Some people like to explore that duality piece. So they have a more and a less in each one of those. One person has embrace and release, a couple different things in each one of those areas. You could just use a single word. Again, some more stickers. And my favorite sticker source, I kind of just do whatever. I've found some on Amazon. I find some when I go into Michael's. There's always fun ones. Of course, I get the Silk and Sonder monthly pack that matches all pretty. It has the little tabs that you can use for the journal. But I don't know if anybody else, oh, some people are talking about pip sticks. Oh yeah, and I forgot Silk and Sonder does have that big pack. I forgot about that. Where is that? I'm gonna have to go find that. I know I have it around here somewhere. So yeah, and Malika's popping in the link to the stickers. And remember, it's 20% off if you get those today. So yeah, just kind of thinking, I like to put some stickers in. It's always kind of fun to pop those in. So I'll just kind of cycle through these different examples so you can see. Feel free to let us know if you're changing any of the headers on there. And what you're going to put in there for the intentions. Again, remember, you might want to just focus on 2. Maybe you want to focus on physical health and money management. That's what I'm going to focus on this month. And while the other ones are lovely, I'm just going to fill them in with a bunch of stickers, and I'm just going to focus on a physical health intention and some money management intentions. So I will let you work on that. I will be quiet, and we will check back in here in just a few moments. Okay, how did we do coming up with those affirmations? I saw some folks saying that they were struggling a little bit to come up with something that felt just right. And I know some people were talking about using AI, using like Chat GPT, or Google has Gemini, or there's one that's called Claude AI. There's also the life coach, Jenny, for Silk and Sonder that you could potentially use. And I think there might still be a free trial. I'll see if I can find some information on when I'm playing the next little song, but that's absolutely fine to use something like that to kind of help you come up with those affirmations. And again, sometimes pick the one or two areas that you really want to focus on and then go from there, right? Don't necessarily feel like you have to fill out all of those. Oh, Malika says that there is a free trial. We'll see if we can get that link for you. Make sure that we can find that so you can kind of check that out, and also check in with them, and they can talk about pricing and those kinds of things to help with some of the AI pieces. So let's move on to our mood tracker and our habit tracker. We have our two little trackers there on page 10 and 11, and lots of different ideas for ways that you can use these to help track and kind of give you a little data point there at the end of the month to see how things are working in mood or in your habits. So we'll start with the mood tracker on page 10. And you've probably noticed that this month is hexagons. If you've been with us for a while, you know that we have sometimes it's in a circle, like it was in this little picture. And then sometimes it's the hexagons. So like in this little picture, right? And so I know we have some people that are team hexagon. They prefer the little hexagons. Some people are team circle. They like the circles better. So just know if your team circle, this month is a hexagon month and it's going to be okay. And we'll figure out, we'll push through and we'll use those hexagons to do this work, right? And you can, lots of different ways to do this to track your moods. You can maybe choose 2 or 3 negative feelings, 1 neutral, and 2 or 3 positive feelings. Maybe you want to focus on that theme of bravery. Maybe you want to keep track of how brave you felt or what kind of brave actions you did each day. And when you fill those in, you can fill in every emotion that came up that day, or maybe fill in whatever emotion was the strongest. One of the things that I did that helped me is I was trying to think of like which emotion, like during the day. I probably go through a whole series of emotions. I don't know which color to use. So what I started doing was at noon, I had a little alarm set on my phone, and so I would record whatever mood I was feeling at noon. So that was just kind of one way. I could have done it like, right, what was my mood when I woke up in the morning, what was my mood at 3 in the afternoon, that kind of thing. But it was kind of interesting because it gave me that little data point, so I could kind of see like see if there were any patterns or that kind of thing. So you can use stickers, colored pens, doodles, just to kind of fill in your tracker. And why would you want to track your mood? So for those of you who have been tracking your mood, you could always share in the chat like how you have found it to be helpful, but really it helps you identify those patterns. Maybe you notice that you feel anxious before the work week starts. It can also help you develop coping techniques for when you're in those not so amazing moods. And it can help you discover what's helping to improve your mood. So you can kind of look and see what days, or if there was some sort of a pattern of kind of like what was happening as you were tracking moods for the month. We'll give you the little mood wheel here, the little emotions wheel, which have the basic ones of fear, love, joy, anger, sadness, and surprise. But then we have lots more words. Obviously, we have a lot of words that we could use to potentially describe our moods. So maybe you want to pick something this month like optimistic. How often did you feel optimistic? Or maybe jealous. Maybe you want to see if that particularly comes up, or anxious, satisfied, perplexed, amazed, blissful, right? Lots of different words on there. And again, I'll kind of cycle through so that you can see this when you are working on it. So here's some examples of things that folks have done with doing the moods, the different mood trackers. So you can see, like, you can just kind of scribble and kind of color in. So they have things like happy and busy, tired, sad, mad, or no. They have not today, right? Some people have excited, happy, peaceful, stressed, annoyed, and sad. And they use kind of a little faces or little squiggles to when they're going to mark those in so that they can see those. The person up in the top middle, they have joy, gratitude, content, stress, overwhelm, and frustration. And then you can see that many of those hexagons have multiple colors. So they are experiencing multiple things, which, like on the 14th, they had both frustration and joy, right? So I think that's always something kind of interesting to think about. And then the one underneath that, they're tracking 3 emotions, but then they're also tracking their energy levels. So they have a little colored flower to show their emotion, but then also the color around the hexagon so that they can see if maybe there's some relation with their emotions and their energy. The one up in the top, they have content, disappointed, frustrated, productive, relaxed, and stressed. And then the one at the bottom, they are rating it from a tough day, which is a 1, to a great day, which is a 6, and then kind of coloring in to kind of a rate the day system. So that's one. Those are some different ways that folks are using it. If you want to repurpose it, some people say, I don't really need to track my moods. That's not really a thing, a data point that I need to use. What else could I use this page for? You could track daily affirmations. You could track anxiety levels, depression levels, energy levels, scale of 1 to 6 for any particular emotion. So here's some ways that some folks have tracked different things. Workouts, a lot of people will track what type of workout they did, how they moved their body. Did they do some training, some cardio, maybe they went for a walk, did some Pilates, yoga, or dancing? You could track that and kind of see what that looks like. You could also, if you wanted to track specifically maybe steps, you could have different colors for like if you had 5,000 steps is one color, 6,000 is another color, that kind of thing. You could have that in there. Self-care tracker, and I love how they have emotional, physical, social, spiritual, mental, and creative. And then they have some things that they can do in each of those areas, and they're going to kind of track those in each one of the days. So that's a fun way to do it. We've got a food tracker where they're tracking if they ate carbs and dairy and then how they felt, right? So if they felt great, bloated, upset, or tired. So that's kind of a good way to kind of say like, okay, I was eating this thing and then this is how it made me feel. Christine in the chat is saying she uses it as a supplement tracker. Love that idea. Trixie's using it as a food tracker and notes the days that she's eating maybe more of those nutritionally dense foods there. I love that. The one in the middle, the anxiety tracker, one of our other facilitators, Bailey, she uses that sometimes to track anxiety, and she has it for panic attack, heavy, frequent, moderate, light, or none. This is a really good thing if you're tracking these kinds of moods or these kinds of issues, to be able to bring to a therapist to kind of show them and maybe look for some patterns. So there's some ideas. And then the one up at the top are business habits, right? So she's using that. Yep. And that's Leanne's. And she's in the chat with us. And she tracks different things she does, like if she does an Instagram story, or if she's, creating and learning, like those kinds of things. So she's tracking those different pieces for her business. And that's a great way to kind of look at that and think about how you want to track. Yep. Exercise tracker, book tracker, lots of different things. So this month I have changed mine up into a knitting project tracker. So I have 6 different projects that I'm working on for Christmas holiday presents. And so I'm going to kind of track which one I work on each day to kind of keep myself motivated to keep working on those and make sure that they're done by the holidays. So again, you know the drill. I'll play a little bit of music, cycle through these examples for you, and then we'll check back in. All right, looks like a lot of you have some ideas for what kinds of things you want to track on this page. Again, you could certainly um, track moods, but there are obviously all these other things that people track. And so it can kind of see all of the different things that maybe we want to keep track of this month. Also, I will be honest, a lot of times when I start out this page with a lot of really good intentions and I track really good for about a week or two, and then I kind of forget about it. So, one of the things that you might want to do to help yourself remember to use the trackers is on your weekly page where it has the habits and activities. Remind yourself one of those habits or activities is to go back and track on page 10, and then also possibly on page 11, which is where we're going to move now to our habit tracker, which is again on page 11. And so the idea with this is these are things that you would want to do on a daily basis for this month. So you can see some examples that are in here are plan my day the night before, go for a walk after lunch, taking my supplements, log which task I accomplished, track my habits, and 20 minutes of exercise. So different ways, some different things that folks are going to track for habits there this month. So you might want to use this to maybe start a new habit. There's something new that you want to do. So it could be taking supplements. It could be going for that walk after lunch. Maybe there's something that you want to bring in. Maybe it's some things you want to stop doing. You want to stop biting your nails. You want to stop driving in through the drive-through, those kinds of things. Or then maybe it's things you want to continue, habits that are bringing value. If you had some great habits last month, bring those over to this month, right? There's no reason, nobody says you have to come up with brand new habits each month. And actually, it's probably better if you don't come up with brand new habits each month, if you just make yourself continually reinforce those habits. So some tips and tricks for this is you could use bravery as your focus. Again, maybe you want to pick some other kind of theme like grounded, calm, joy, delight. Maybe you want to look at those intentions and see if there's some habits that you could pick up that would help you live out those intentions, continue those habits for last month, find that balance of habits that you know you can do and ones that might be trickier to commit to. And remember, you do not have to fill in every single line. Maybe you want to focus on 2 specific habits this month. So you can totally do that as well. So, speaking of that, I like the little meme that says one does not simply start 10 new habits at once. So I always caution people, especially new folks, don't come up with there's 7 lines, don't come up with 7 brand new habits that you have not even started yet, because that's going to be, that's a little bit of a recipe for stress, right? So if there's something new you want to bring in, maybe pick one, and then maybe some other things that you've already pretty much established as a habit, but you just want to track it and kind of reinforce that. And if you want a nice, easy win, if there's a habit that you already are really good at, like for me, for example, I always make my bed every morning. If I want an easy win that I can check off, I will put make my bed, because I know that I will always do that, because that is just ingrained in me. I've done it for years and years, and it's just a thing. Even when I go on vacation in the hotel room, I make the bed when I get up. It's just a thing. So you can just kind of think of it that way. I saw some folks are having some trouble with Zoom, and I'm not sure what's going on, and I apologize. You never know, Zoom does like to boot people out. So just know that this recording will be available probably in a day or so if you need to pop back in and pick up anything. So sorry about that. So here's some examples of things that folks have done in the past. I love the super creative, beautiful, the mandala where people are, kind of coloring everything in. I would not get that creative. That would stress me out. But I love it. And I love that it's beautiful there. Notice also on the one on the right, they have put a highlight around the weekends. I think I like to do that because that helps me remember, like, is there a particular habit that I struggle with on the weekends? And then I can kind of think maybe those are the weekend. Maybe I don't do that habit on the weekend, right? Maybe there's something on there that I like. If I have pack my lunch for work, well, if I don't go to work on the weekend, then I don't need to worry about that. so you can make that distinction. Here's some other fun, really pretty ones, people with kind of some fun little art in here. I love that. Yeah, Nikki, the weekend outline thing I think is really helpful. I will also circle, like, for example, at the end of the month, we're going to be in Southern California. So the 27th through the 30th, I just kind of have like a box around that. And I know I'm going to be on vacation. So probably some of those habits aren't quite going to work out, like packing my lunch for work. Like that's not a thing when I'm on vacation. And again, notice the person over on the left, they have like one line that just has kind of the pretty colors. So they only have 6 things that they're going to focus on for their habits. Here's some more examples of things that folks have done. I like the one they call it a celebration tracker, and they're going to say, I celebrate my body when I go to the gym, work out at home, mindful moments in yoga, gentle stretches, nature walk, playful exercise, and guilt-free rest. They have all of those in there as well. So those are fun ideas. Here's some more fun ones. Got a little frog there on their habit tracker. The idea of eat the frog, right? Do the hardest thing first. That's always a good one. Is one of those yours, Kimberly? Some of these are so fun. I always bring them back, and then people are like, "Oh, that's an old one," and I'm like, "Well, but it's a classic. It's a good example. It's fun for folks to see." And again, that monthly habit versus weekly, because there's a weekly. The habits and activities, and really this is the one that you want to do every day. The weekly one is really more of something that maybe you want to do a couple times during the week. So yeah, Kimberly's thinking of like, what are some brave habits that I could come up with? And remember, this isn't a bingo, and a coverall isn't the only way that you can win here. And then I like the one on the left. They gave themselves grace and moving on because it's not worth the stress, right? So they didn't do those things, and they're like, bloop, didn't do it. There's a few bravery habits, and I think it came from Deep Stash. I think Jennifer O, one of our other facilitators, had this one in there, and they had speaking up and making big requests and confronting long held fears. I think there were some other ones on there, but so that's a fun place that you can take a look. And then if you need some ideas for some habits, here's a lot of different, excuse me, a lot of different potential habits. So I will let you work on those. Feel free to share in the chat what habits you are going to work on, and then we will come back and we will close things out. Okay, so hopefully everybody has some good habits there that they're ready to bravely embrace for the month of September. I love it. And lots of fun ideas for different things to work. So, believe it or not, we have come to the end of our time together. I don't know how this time goes by so fast, but it always does. So, hopefully, you are feeling prepared to take on September. And I did have to share the great knowledge you have. Share you must, right? We love when you don't really have to share, but we love when you share pages from your planner in the Sonder Club app. It is so great to see what everyone's doing, and you never know who you're going to inspire. So we're so glad that you were able to be here with us and work on your planner tonight. I did want to mention that we do have the exclusive event coming up on September 18th, where we have it is an expert-led event working on your disc personality type, which I don't think I've taken mine, so I think I need to take that little quiz. And there's a little link in there so you can take the quiz, and it should be a free quiz. It might say something like you can get more in depth if you pay a price, but you don't have to do that. You should be able to get the disc personality type in there if you want to do that. Oh, good. Nikki said she signed up and is super pumped. So yeah, so that should be super fun. So, and Malika's going to drop some other links in there. She'll put in the YouTube link where you can get all of her socials. We have over 1,000 recordings of socials in there now, which is just amazing to think that we have so many. So you can always find something to watch. You could always go way back and maybe even find a month that you, when you weren't a member, and find a fun theme and do some activities. You don't have to have the pages to do the activities. You can always just write those out. So I hope you all have a fabulous week. Have fun embracing this idea of bravery. And hopefully we will see you all again very soon in another social. So take care, everyone. And we will see you again very soon.